On 17 July 2010, 12 dive enthusiasts exchanged Chile Johannesburg for a hot Egypt.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a scuba diver.
Is this going on Sky? Hang on.
This is Duncan Marshall reporting from OR Tampa.
Kyle Katia, and I seriously feel like I'm about to start melting soon.
Dead. Great.
Sydney, good see you. This is Mike Jordan.
Andrew Marshall.
Bubble Mega Productions rocks.
My name is Paul. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Robbie, scuba diver.
They left Tortambo International late at night and 9 hours later found themselves in Egyptian summer. From Cairo, the 1-hour flight landed in Sharm el-Sheikh when another 8 divers joined the group. After baggage collection and passport control, it was a short bus trip to Sharm Harbour. In the harbour, Lady Cyclone was patiently waiting for divers' arrival. As always, paperwork comes first.
Hi, I'm Katie. Hi, I'm Alistair. Hi, I'm Erica.
I'm Rob and I'm a scuba diver.
I'm Claire from London.
Charlie's brother. Hi, Anthony. Also from London, Charlie's brother.
The unmistakable expertise of the chef from the galley made dining experience a pure indulgence. After lunch, the cabins were allotted to divers. Dive kit preparation includes sorting out of weights as the salinity of the Red Sea is much higher than that of the South African waters.
Getting ready, nearly there. Just don't drop one of these things on your toes, that's for sure.
Hi, my name is Mike. I'm a scuba diver.
Nighttime is feeding time in the sea, and the predators enjoyed hunting under fully lit conditions. The next morning, it was time to visit Ras Mohammed National Park. In order to protect and conserve the entire area of Ras Mohammed, the Egyptian government established its first national park in 1983, which initially covered a territory of 97 square kilometers. It was extended in 1988 to give a total territory of 480 square kilometers. Around 150,000 tourists are drawn to this area every year. Only 10% of the territory is open to the public. The rest is closed for conservation purposes. Most rays feed primarily on mollusks, worms, crustaceans and fishes, leaving a groove in the sand. Young rays search for food on the surface of the substrate, while adults dig for it in the sediment with their duck-billed snout. The International Shipping Channel had to be crossed to do the first wreck dive on the Carnatic. The Carnatic was launched in 1862 as a new type ship with bows, sails and steam engines. Her last voyage was to Bombay in September 1869, carrying 34 passengers, 176 crew and a cargo of cotton bales, copper sheeting, royal mail and 40,000 pounds of gold coins destined for Indian mint. On September 13th at 1 a.m., Shadwan Island was sighted by the second officer, dead ahead. Attempts to change direction proved unsuccessful. She took 5 passengers and 26 crew down with her. Once the wreck was full of wine bottles, but years of souvenir-hungry divers have deprived the Carnatic of this treasure. Now all you can find is a few broken bottles here and there. The Janus D was launched in 1969 as the Shoyomaru. She sailed under her original name until 1975, at which time she was sold and renamed the Marcos. In 1980, the ship was sold again and renamed into Janus D. Her machinery comprised a 6-cylinder diesel engine capable of producing 3,000 horsepower and a top speed of 12 knots. With the engine set at full speed ahead, the Janus D was seen suddenly wander from her allotted course and drive hard into the northwest corner of Abu Noa's Reef. The date was April 19th, 1983. next stop was our favorite dive site in the Red Sea, the Gobal Barge. The origins of this wreck are unknown. Some say it is an Egyptian naval ship lost during the Six-Day War. Others believe it could be a diving boat or a cruising yacht. Whatever the true identity is, this wreck is the home to various creatures, including a resident giant moray eel and his wife, commonly known as Mr. and Mrs. George. Mr. George does not closely describe the sheer size of this majestic creature. Sir George is more appropriate. Thistlegorm was launched in 1940 as one of a fleet of 17 thistles. Thistlegorm is Scottish for blue thistle. It sailed with cargo around the Cape of Good Hope, refueling in South Africa because German U-boats were manning the Med. An accident further up the Gulf meant she remained at safe anchorage F for 2 weeks. Germans have just learned to fly at night. Passing over, they were looking for the Queen Mary. The attack came as a complete surprise. The Thistlegorm had no time to defend herself. She was hit by 2 powerful bombs at the level of hold number 4 near the engine room and where the ammunition was stored. The Thistlegorm was carrying a large number of motorcycles, including BSA, Norton and Matchless. These motorcycles were built for the desert and intended both for convoy outrides and to transport dispatches and documents. A substantial part of the Thistlegorm's cargo consisted of small trucks of various kinds, mostly to be found in hold number 2. One may also observe the port side anchor still in its original position, and its counterpart on the starboard side, which lies on the seabed over 100 meters from the hull. The Thistlegorm was carrying 2 locomotives on deck, equipped with coal tenders and tank wagons to ensure the necessary water supply. When the ship exploded, the locomotives were flung some 30 meters from the hull, while the tenders and tank wagons remained in situ on the ship's foredeck. The stern lists to port at 46 degrees angle, and at its deepest point at depths of 30 meters, the 4-bladed propeller and the rudder can be seen. Ascending to the depths of 25 meters on the upper deck, a 40mm anti-aircraft machine gun can be seen. There is a large gash caused by German bombs at the level of hold number 4, which contained trailers to transport ammunition, 2 Bren carrier Mk2 tanks, bombs, and even live ammunition, which inexplicably survived intact. Unfortunately, the vast numbers of divers who now visit Thistlegorm every day has become a threat to the conservation of its iron structures and the soft corals colonizing the ship. Many inconsiderate divers have been unable to resist the temptation to steal objects, motorcycle parts, and even ammunition from the wreck. Its conservation has become an urgent necessity, and the Egyptian authorities should impose strict regulations on all divers or even prohibit the access to the site altogether. Beacon Rock is located on the south side of the Ras Mohammed Peninsula and is within the boundaries of Ras Mohammed National Park. In this area is a wreck of the Dunraven, which is a steam freighter that sank in 1876. It is thought to have been a spy ship for T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia.
To the shady groves, the sun and the shadows sleep, and tie a ribbon on the sheltering arms in the springtime of the year. The songs of the birds seem to fill the wood, that when the fiddler plays, all the voices can be heard long past the woodland days.
On the night dive at Beacon Rock, Jane Travelli opportunistically made use of the video lights to easily spot its small prey and hunt it down. At last we saw the elusive stonefish, a fascinating ambush predator lying dead still on the reef, waiting for a prey. Luckily for this lionfish, it was not on tonight's menu.
Work of our Lord's hand. Be the branding of the night, sometime of His day, and not be turning back again. We bring God and day. Be the branding of the night, and sometime of His day.
Unicorn fish can be found from shallow reef flats to deep slopes, adults grazing algae or feeding in schools along drop-offs on plankton. The Yolanda was a merchant ship that sank in a bad storm on the 1st of April 1981 on her way to Aqaba. Her wreck lies between 145 and 200 meters. The only evidence that she sank here is the remains of her cargo, which included toilets, wash basins, and bathtubs. On a drift dive over Jackfish Alley, after descending to 6 meters, the large entrance to the cave is immediately visible, which penetrates the reef for about 40 meters. The exit of the cave lies at a depth of 9 meters. The goldfish's barbels contain chemosensory organs and are used to probe sand for prey. Parrotfishes closely resemble wrasses, but differ by having teeth fused into beak-like plates. Triggerfishes lay eggs in a nest, which is aggressively guarded by the male. At these times, some of the larger species will attack and bite an intruding diver, and are capable of causing serious injury. Sand perchers lie motionless on the sand and rubble in shallow reefs to ambush fishes and invertebrates, which are sucked lightning fast into its big mouth. The long-nosed hogfish are found mainly in deep water, on black corals and gorgonias, which they seem to use as a lookout point. Anemone fishes never live without an anemone, and are protected from anemone's sting cells by their mucus, which carries anemone's chemical signature. Anemone fish cannot survive in the wild once separated from their host. Hawkfish appear to be part of the reef and assume the role of an ambush hunter. Picasso triggerfish is a beautiful species with its unmistakable color pattern. After 1 week on board of the Cyclone, it was strange to set foot on dry land, but the Camel Bar in Sharm el-Sheikh was just the place to shake off the sea legs. The menu contained various strange cocktails and a few had to be tried out, while some added to the pleasure by smoking shisha.
What is the matter?
Go away!
Sadly, for some the trip has come to an end. For the others, it continued to the small Bedouin town of Dahab, approximately 100 kilometers from Sharm el-Sheikh. The dive site at the lighthouse is suitably called the dump, where you dive over a sandy slope covered with thick blanket of seagrass. Double-ended pipefishes live on rubble, sand, mud or among algae and seagrasses in lagoons and coastal bays, often seen lying on sand with raised head or drifting like debris. Seahorses live among corals or on seagrass beds and feed on minute benthic crustaceans. They often live in monogamous pairs, greeting each other every morning with a special ritualized dance. Courtship and transfer of the eggs into male brooding pouch follow a species-specific pattern of synchronized, mutually harmonizing behavior. Males incubate the egg clutch in a specially evolved ventral pouch and give birth to miniature versions of their parents. They feed on tiny crustaceans that are sucked in by the tubular mouth. About 20 million seahorses are harvested annually, primarily in Vietnam, the Philippines, China and Thailand. 3/4 are dried for the Chinese herbal medicine market, while the remainder are kept alive for aquarium market. This has resulted in an estimated worldwide reduction of natural populations by 50 to 70%. Sea turtles are highly adapted for the life in the sea. They migrate over great distances and most return to their natal beaches to reproduce. Most sea turtles are primarily carnivores that feed on a variety of animals ranging from sponges, jellyfishes and anemones to crustaceans and fishes. Green turtles feed increasingly on algae and seagrasses as they grow. Adult green turtles can remain submerged for up to 5 hours by slowing their heart rate to 1 beat per minute. All 7 species are considered threatened or endangered. Countless numbers die each year from entanglement in fishing nets or by ingesting plastic bags.
Beni orta yerinden çatlatıyor. Ağzımda sakızı şişirip şişirip arsız arsız patlatıyor. Biz böyle mi gördük babamızdan, hele güne rezil olduk. Yeni adet gelmiş eski köye bak, dostlar mahvoldu. Seni gidip fındık kıran, yılanı deliğinden çıkaran, kaderin püsküllü belam yakalarsan. Seni gidip fındık kıran, yılanı deliğinden çıkaran, kaderin püsküllü belam yakalarsam. Takmış koluna elin adamını, beni orta yerinden çatlatıyor. Ağzımda sakızı şişirip şişirip arsız arsız patlatıyor. Biz böyle mi gördük babamızdan, hele güne rezil olduk. Yeni adet gelmiş eski köye bak, dostlar mahvoldu. Seni gidip fındık kıran, yılanı deliğinden çıkaran, kaderin püsküllü belam yakalarsam. Seni gidip fındık
The Blue Hole is one of the most famous diving sites in the whole of the Red Sea, not because of its beauty, but unfortunately because it is associated with a high number of fatal incidents. On the rocky wall of the northern side of the Blue Hole, nearby the narrow track leading to El Belz, there are memorial tablets to commemorate the too many divers, almost all of them young and without any doubt experienced divers, who aimed to challenge their limits or to satisfy their adventurous instincts, but never found their way back to the surface. El Belz is a sort of chimney in the reef and is open at the upper part towards the sea, that widens and narrows, forming cavities in the shape of bells. You enter through a crack in the reef from where you jump into the blue, a few meters below the surface. The third one of the bells started 26 meters, after a big arch and is 6 to 7 meters high. You descend into this extraordinary universe to a depth of 30 meters, around the third and big bell. The canyon is situated 1.5 kilometers south of the Blue Hole. The sandy lagoon has an average depth of about 3 meters, and if you're lucky, you may encounter Pegasus sea moths. They're territorial and live in pairs. The male protects the female against other intruding males. They feed on minute invertebrates and are rarely seen. The canyon is a deep crack that opens in a north-south direction with a reef slope and descends to a depth of 54 meters. The island's dive site is an absolutely extraordinary site for its richness and development of its coral reef. It is a real hard coral labyrinth consisting foremost of massive pork corals belonging to genus of Porites. Here one can get easily and enjoyably lost whilst admiring the rich fauna of this place. There is a small immersed hard coral island further to the east beyond the sandy road, which one can identify from the surface, especially at low tide, and that gave the site its name. The Diveside Eel Gardens owes its name to a huge population of resident garden eels. They stay in colonies from a few to up to 1,000 individuals. Each garden eel lives solitary in a vertical tube-like burrow which is longer than its body, so it can rapidly retreat into it completely. Mullets move in large fast-moving schools which swim close to sandy or muddy bottom, taking mouthfuls of sand which are sifted through the gills to extract food particles. Thornback boxfish belongs to a family of trunkfishes, which are slow-moving diurnal predators of a wide variety of small sessile invertebrates and algae. Some trunkfishes will hang head down and blow sand away to expose worms and other invertebrates. Gobies are found to live in symbiotic relationship with nearly blind pistol shrimps. The shrimp maintains a burrow while the goby acts as a lookout. While at the burrow entrance, the shrimp maintains contact with the goby with one of its antennae, and the goby warns the shrimp of potential danger with a flick of its tail. gobies often found in pairs, sometimes with juveniles, on the same whip coral. This very interesting species spent its entire life on the same host, usually found in current-prone areas and tidal channels. Whip gobies tend to move to the opposite side of the host when observed. The assistance of a dive buddy is required to get good shots of this shy species. When in Rome, do like Romans do. So, when you're in Egypt, traditional Bedouin dinner is a must experience.
Is this from Camel, special Camel? No.
It's nice. They don't get any eyelashes. Maybe those two little round things with Lucy's.
I feel it. How many stone?
That's so weird.
You want first this one or the one side?
Me, not that small. And do what?
Still not gonna.
Oh my goodness.
We had a fantastic trip, loved the time, in great company, food's been excellent.
Yeah.
Killed. Wife's always been wonderful. I have to say that.
Great company, I'll second that. Brilliant people.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want me to do? Say something.
It's been a good trip.
Why are you twisting the camera like that?
What a phenomenal trip with great people. Worth going on every time. And Pamela, my God, is she great at night.
It's been great. It's been very good. I haven't seen sharks, but it's been very good.
I saw a shark.
What do you say?
No hammerheads, eh?
You're too close. What a wonderful week.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Like a diving.
Cairo Airport, 35 degrees Celsius outside, 8 o'clock at night. We're about to leave to South Africa, where it's 15 degrees Celsius.
During the day. But anyhow, just like any other trip, this one has now also come to an end. And from us, the Bubble Maker team, safe diving.
Get